The white satin wedding drapes billowed softly in the gentle breeze drifting through the open arched French windows of the five-star royal wedding venue. Rows of pure white roses and baby's breath lined the luxurious aisle, paired with soft ivory candlelights that flickered steadily, wrapping the entire grand banquet hall in a wholly romantic and dreamlike atmosphere. The melodic sound of the wedding march echoed through every corner of the venue, flowing into the ears of hundreds of distinguished guests seated below the stage. These guests included top-tier industry entrepreneurs, senior legal elites, wealthy socialites, and close relatives of both sides, all gathered to witness the so-called perfect wedding of Bennett Hopkins and me. I stood calmly on the wedding stage, wearing a custom-made haute couture white wedding gown worth millions, the delicate handmade lace clinging gently to my figure, sparkling imported diamond ornaments dotted the neckline and cuffs, and a layer of faint tulle veil softly covered my eyebrows and eyes. My name is Serena Voss, the founding president and sole controlling shareholder of Voss Luxury Legal Consulting Group, the top elite lawyer in the international commercial law circle who has never lost a single case in 8 years of practice. I have a net worth exceeding hundreds of millions, hold high-end resources in law, finance, and upper-class social circles, and am the absolute top-tier powerhouse in the crowd. But for the past 2 years, I have deliberately concealed all my aura and wealth for Bennett Hopkins, my newly wedded husband standing beside me. I downplayed my achievements, hid my huge assets, and pretended to be an ordinary, gentle, ordinary legal staff with a stable job and no prominent family background. I did this entirely to take care of Bennett's strong inferiority complex and fragile male pride. Bennett is a mid-level manager of a medium-sized financial company with an ordinary family background, mediocre ability, and a narrow vision. He always complained that powerful women would make men feel pressured, so I chose to restrain all my sharpness, lower my posture, and be a gentle, obedient, and humble fiancé in front of him. I thought my tolerance and accommodation could exchange for sincere love and lifelong loyalty. I thought that after we got married, we would live a peaceful and happy life, running a warm family hand in hand. On today's wedding day, I was dressed in fine clothes, dressed up carefully, and held the most sincere expectation for marriage in my heart. The guests below the stage were whispering and sending sincere blessings, their eyes full of envy for our seemingly perfect marriage. Everyone thought we were a golden couple, gentle and well-matched, and that our future life would be smooth and sweet. Bennett stood beside me, wearing a custom black suit with a deliberate, gentle smile on his face. He held my hand tightly, his fingers warm, but I could vaguely detect a trace of restlessness and hidden guilt in his subtle movements. This moment, I didn't take this trivial detail to heart. I just thought it was the normal nervousness of a man on his wedding day. I gently curled my lips, ready to accept the host's wedding ceremony process, and officially start my married life with the man I had tolerated and compromised for 2 whole years. But before the host could speak, a thin, young figure suddenly rushed out from the guest queue at the side of the stage, breaking all the romance and holiness of the wedding scene in an instant. It was Mia Carter, the 22-year-old intern assistant who had just joined Bennett's company 3 months ago. She was wearing a clean white casual dress, with long soft hair hanging over her shoulders, her face pale, and her eyes filled with a complex mixture of nervousness, grievance, and deliberate pretense of innocence. She stepped onto the gorgeous wedding stage step by step under the stunned gaze of all the guests, walking straight towards Bennett and me. Her sudden appearance instantly triggered a commotion in the audience. The whispering voices of the guests suddenly became louder, and countless eyes were firmly fixed on her figure, full of confusion and curiosity. No one knew why a young intern would rush onto the protagonist's stage on someone else's grand wedding day. The atmosphere of the entire venue instantly became awkward and tense, and the originally romantic and warm wedding atmosphere dropped to freezing point in an instant. Mia stopped 2 steps in front of me, her head slightly lowered, her hands tightly clutching the corner of her dress, showing a trembling and vulnerable look. She first glanced at me timidly, then her eyes secretly swept to Bennett beside me, and then she slowly raised her head, her voice soft and trembling, sounding extremely aggrieved and pitiful, as if she was the most innocent and wronged person in this whole farce. "Mrs. Hopkins, congratulations on your wedding." Her voice was low, with a deliberate tremor, and her face was full of obvious difficulty and hesitation, as if she was struggling with a huge secret that was hard to speak. All the guests held their breath, staring at her intently, waiting for her next words. Even the host froze on the spot, completely at a loss how to deal with this sudden emergency. I stood quietly in place, my expression gentle and calm, no anger or impatience showing on my face, just quietly waiting for her to finish her words. I had a faint premonition in my heart that this wedding, which I had prepared for a long time, was destined to become a ridiculous farce today. I have a secret that I have hidden in my heart for a long time, and I can't hold it back anymore. Mia bit her lower lip tightly, her eyes turning red quickly, and her tone was full of suppressed grievance and helplessness. I have liked a man for a very long time. He is extremely kind and gentle to me, and he has taken good care of me in every possible way for the past few months. He treats me far better than anyone else in this world. As she spoke, her eyes unconsciously fell on Bennett, and the hidden affection and dependence in her eyes could not be hidden at all. When I have painful menstrual cramps, he will specially take time off work to boil warm ginger tea for me, adjust the temperature carefully, and feed it to me sip by sip to warm my body. When I feel wronged and depressed at work, he will put aside all his work, take me out for weekend trips, take me to eat delicious food, and patiently comfort me and enlighten me until I cheer up again. Every word she said was full of delicate and intimate details, which were enough to make every guest present instantly understand the hidden ambiguous relationship between her and Bennett. The whispering voices in the audience completely exploded at this moment, and the eyes of everyone present became complicated, shocked, and mocking. But now, he is forced by his family's pressure to marry someone else, he can't be with me, and I can only hide my feelings silently, Mrs. Hopkins, tell me, should I let go of this relationship that I've cherished for so long? Mia looked straight at me, her eyes full of tentative expectation and deliberate weakness, trying to arouse my sympathy and make me take the initiative to back down. She was completely betting on my gentleness, betting that I would choose to tolerate and compromise on the wedding day, betting that I would maintain the so-called face of the wedding and swallow all the grievances alone. Facing her deliberate provocation and the countless staring eyes from the audience, I did not fly into a rage, did not yell and curse, and did not show any embarrassment or collapse. I just kept a gentle and calm smile on my face, my eyes soft and peaceful, without the slightest trace of anger or panic. I looked at the young and ignorant-looking girl in front of me, and my voice was gentle and clear, enough to be heard clearly by every guest in the entire venue. Silly girl, there is no need to be so tangled and sad. My tone was gentle and soothing, like a kind elder comforting a lost junior. If he also has the same firm love for you, if you two are willing to insist on this relationship together and face all difficulties hand in hand, you will definitely get a happy and perfect ending. I paused slightly, my eyes sweeping calmly over the stiff and flustered Bennett beside me, and then continued in a warm tone. Actually, when you're Mr. Hopkins and I were together at the beginning, we also encountered countless obstacles and doubts. Many people were not optimistic about us, and there were many difficulties and setbacks blocking our way, but we persisted all the way, overcame all obstacles, and finally came to today's wedding. Look, aren't we living a very happy and sweet life now? I smiled softly, my expression calm and sincere, without any false pretense. So I also sincerely wish you can let go of your obsessions as soon as possible and meet your own happy and destined partner. The moment my gentle and generous words fell, all the guests in the audience were slightly stunned. Everyone thought I would be furious, lose my temper on the spot, and stage a fierce wedding scene of catching adultery. No one expected that I would be so gentle, generous, and magnanimous in the face of such blatant provocation, and even take the initiative to bless the mistress in front of everyone. Mia was also completely stunned by my reaction. She froze in place for 2 full seconds, her eyes full of incredible surprise and ecstasy. She originally thought that she would be scolded and embarrassed in public, but she never expected that I would directly approve their relationship and take the initiative to let go. The ecstasy of getting permission instantly overwhelmed all her pretense of grievance and vulnerability. She let out an excited exclamation, jumped up lightly on the spot twice like a child who got candy, and then regardless of the countless guests watching, regardless of the solemn wedding scene, she turned around abruptly and rushed straight into Bennett's arms. She hugged Bennett's neck tightly, her body clinging to his chest, her voice bright and excited, full of victorious pride and arrogance, completely tearing off all her previous weak and innocent disguise. Bennett, did you hear that? Your wife has agreed to us being together. She personally blessed us. Mia raised her head, her eyes shining with victory, and her tone was infinitely proud and complacent. We don't have to hide anymore tomorrow. You can openly accompany me to the prenatal checkup, right? Our baby can finally be admitted openly. The moment the words prenatal checkup fell, the entire wedding venue fell into dead silence for 3 full seconds. The noisy whispering, the flickering candlelight, the soft music, and the guests' expressions all froze completely. The air was filled with an extremely awkward, absurd, and suffocating atmosphere. Everyone's eyes were wide open, staring at the intimate hugging 2 people on the stage in shock, and then quickly turned to me, the real bride standing alone on the side of the stage. The shock and disbelief in everyone's eyes were almost overflowing, and Owen expected that the intern assistant not only had an affair with the groom, but was even pregnant with the groom's child. On their official wedding day. This was no longer a simple wedding scandal, but a blatant, shameless public betrayal and insult, trampling the bride's dignity underfoot in front of all relatives and friends. Bennett's body stiffened completely the moment Mia threw herself into his arms. The gentle smile on his face disappeared in an instant, replaced by extreme panic, and helplessness. He subconsciously wanted to push Mia away, wanted to explain to me, and wanted to remedy the situation, but Mia hugged him too tightly, making him unable to break free for a while. His eyes were full of panic, and he kept glancing at me sideways, trying to find any trace of anger, collapse, or grievance on my face, but he was completely disappointed. My face was still calm. The gentle smile on my lips did not disappear, and there was no fluctuation in my eyes, as if I was just watching a farce that had nothing to do with me, as if the betrayed bride in this absurd scene was not me at all. Third-party objective commentary. To every onlooker present at this grand wedding, Serena's performance in these critical 10 minutes was utterly incomprehensible at first glance. Faced with the most humiliating public betrayal a wife could endure, her wedding day, her husband's pregnant mistress storming the stage to provoke, every guest witnessing her humiliation, she showed 0 hysteria, 0 breakdown, 0 messy tears. Most women in this situation would scream, fight, collapse, or cry out for justice on the spot, sacrificing their own poise to vent their rage. But Serena did not. Her gentle words, calm expression, and generous blessing were not signs of cowardice, weakness, or foolish tolerance. As an observer watching every detail clearly, I can see through her essence in an instant. This is the absolute calm of a top elite who has full control over the overall situation. She never panics because she never puts her emotions and destiny in the hands of a traitor. Her seemingly soft compromise is actually a perfect trap laid in public, using her own magnanimity to set off the extreme shamelessness and absurdity of the two betrayers. She chooses to remain calm not because she is powerless, but because she wants all the sins of Bennett and Mia to be completely exposed in front of all witnesses, leaving them with no room for defense, no chance of regret, and no way to turn back. This is the pattern and courage of a true strong woman. She never wastes her dignity on meaningless, hysterical quarrels. She saves all her strength for the most thorough and fatal revenge. I watched the two people hugging intimately in front of me, watching Mia's proud and complacent face, watching Bennett's flustered and guilty expression, and the gentle smile on my lips gradually turned into a cold, sarcastic arc. The tenderness and expectation in my heart for 2 years were completely wiped out in this moment, turned into endless coldness and thorough disappointment. For 2 whole years, I have paid sincerely, tolerated repeatedly, compromised infinitely, and hidden my glory for him. I've spent my resources to help him expand his career, used my connections to help him solve workplace troubles, and even wronged myself to cater to his poor self-esteem. I thought I could warm a sincere person, but in the end, I only raised a white-eyed wolf who was greedy, selfish, ungrateful, and morally corrupt. While enjoying my silent dedication and all the convenience I brought him, he was secretly dating his young intern assistant, even making the other party pregnant, and finally chose to stage such a shameful farce on my wedding day, humiliating me in public and trampling my dignity wantonly. For a moment, all the past memories flooded into my heart like a tide. Every detail of my dedication and his betrayal was clearly presented in my mind, becoming the best foreshadowing for my subsequent thorough revenge. I still remember that half a year ago, Bennett often worked overtime late at night. Every time, he would send me messages saying that he was busy with work and had no time to accompany me. I believed his words without suspicion, and even specially prepared supper and tonics for him many times, worried that he was too tired from work. Once I drove to his company to deliver supper late at night, and I saw him and Mia sitting intimately in the office lounge, chatting and laughing happily. At that time, I was soft-hearted and chose to believe his excuse of just communicating work with interns. I even blamed myself for being too suspicious and not trusting him enough. Now it seems that all those late-night overtime lies were just excuses for him to date his mistress privately. All the gentle care he showed to me was just a disguised pretense. The ginger tea, weekend trips, and careful comfort that Mia mentioned were all the tenderness and romance that he had never given me in 2 years, but he easily gave them to a young intern who had only known him for 3 months. I still remember that 3 months ago, Mia took the initiative to add my WeChat, sent me cute photos every day, chatted with me about trivial life matters, and pretended to be a sensible and well-behaved little sister. She would take the initiative to ask me about Bennett's preferences, ask me how to get along with him, and repeatedly say that she admired my feelings for Bennett and envied our stable love. I was foolishly sincere to her, shared my emotional experience with her, and even taught her workplace experience patiently, never knowing that this well-behaved little sister in front of me had long been coveting my husband and my marriage, and had long been secretly entangled with Bennett. I still remember that a month ago, Bennett took the initiative to mention to me that he wanted to take Mia as his formal subordinate, saying that Mia was diligent and sensible at work and had great potential. Out of trust in him, I agreed without hesitation, and even used my hidden resources to help Mia get a regular job opportunity, making their private contact more convenient and unimpeded. Every tolerance and trust of mine has become a sharp weapon for them to hurt me. Every dedication of mine has become their capital to betray me wantonly. The more I recall, the colder my heart becomes, and the more thorough my desire for revenge becomes. I have never been a soft-hearted person who allows others to bully me wantonly. I have been standing at the top of the industry for 8 years, fighting against all kinds of greedy and vicious people in the mall and workplace, and I have never lost a single battle. I chose to be gentle and tolerant only because I cherish this relationship. Now that the relationship is broken, the trust is exhausted, and the betrayal is blatant, I will no longer retain any tenderness and mercy. Since they choose to humiliate me in public on my wedding day and ruin my marriage wantonly, I will completely destroy their careers, reputations, futures, and everything they care about, letting them pay 100 times and 1,000 times the price for their betrayal and insult today. I slowly straightened my slightly bent posture. The gentle light in my eyes completely faded, replaced by a deep, cold, and intimidating sharpness. The smile on my lips completely disappeared, and my whole body exuded a powerful aura of superiority that had been hidden for 2 years. The originally gentle and harmless ordinary woman's aura was completely broken, and the domineering aura of a top elite lawyer and a billionaire female president instantly swept the entire audience. The temperature of the entire venue seemed to drop sharply in an instant, and all the noisy discussions below the stage completely stopped. All the guests felt the huge change in my aura, and their expressions became more and more shocked and dignified. Even the intimately hugging Bennett and Mia suddenly felt a strong sense of oppression, and their joyful and proud mood instantly faded a lot. I stood tall and straight on the wedding stage, my gaze cold and sharp, sweeping calmly over the flustered Bennett and the stunned Mia, and then my clear and powerful voice sounded again, every word sonorous and powerful, resounding throughout the entire grand venue, without the slightest tremor or weakness. "You're right, I do bless you." My tone was cold and indifferent, without any warmth, completely different from the gentle tone just now. "I bless you two to be entangled forever, to never be separated, to bear all the consequences of today's betrayal and absurdity together, and to fall into the abyss of despair together forever." The moment my cold blessing fell, Bennett's body trembled violently. He finally realized that I was not ignorant and tolerant, but had been watching their farce coldly all along. He quickly pushed Mia away from his arms, regardless of Mia's stunned and aggrieved expression, and rushed towards me in a panic, his face full of fear and fluster. "Serena, listen to me. It's not what you think. It's all a misunderstanding. Mia is talking nonsense. I have nothing to do with her. I was forced by her. Don't misunderstand me." Bennett's voice was trembling, his eyes full of panic and pleading, and he reached out his hand anxiously to grab my arm, trying to explain and remedy in a hurry. But I easily dodged his hand, my movements cold and alienated, without giving him any chance to get close. "Misunderstanding." I let out a cold laugh, the sarcasm in my eyes almost overflowing. "Bennett Hopkins, do you think all the guests present are blind? Do you think all the intimate details between you two, all the ambiguous interactions, and her current pregnancy are all misunderstandings?" I raised my chin slightly, my gaze sharp and cold, staring straight at his panicked eyes, completely piercing his poor disguise. "For half a year, you lied to me about working overtime every night to date her. For 3 months, you took advantage of your position to take care of her privately, giving her all the tenderness you never gave me. You made her pregnant secretly, and even indulged her to stage a farce on my wedding day to humiliate me in public. Now you tell me it's a misunderstanding?" Every word I said was clear and powerful, with solid evidence, making Bennett's face turn pale little by little, until there was no trace of blood left. He opened his mouth repeatedly, wanting to refute, but he couldn't say a single word of defense. All his excuses were so pale and powerless in the face of the facts I pointed out. The guests in the audience completely understood the whole story at this moment. Everyone's eyes on Bennett and Mia changed from shock to disgust and contempt. No one sympathized with their so-called true love anymore. Everyone only felt that these two people were extremely shameless and vicious, ruining the bride's wedding and humiliating the bride in public, which was simply intolerable. Mia finally reacted from the ecstasy, just now. She looked at my cold and powerful aura, looked at Bennett's panicked and desperate appearance, and finally realized that things were not developing as she expected. She thought that I was a weak, gentle, and easy-to-bully ordinary woman, that I would choose to compromise and leave in despair after being humiliated, allowing her and Bennett to be together openly. But she never expected that I would be so calm and sharp, and would directly tear off their disguise in public. She panicked instantly, her eyes red again, and she rushed to Bennett's side, holding his arm tightly, pretending to be wronged and weak again, trying to arouse Bennett's pity. "Bennett, what's wrong with us? We clearly love each other. She has already agreed to us being together. Why do you have to deny it? I'm pregnant with your child. Don't you want our child?" Mia cried pitifully, her voice trembling, trying to use the child to tie Bennett and force him to take responsibility for her. This was her usual trick. She had always relied on her youth, weakness, and grievance to control Bennett, making him compromise and accommodate her repeatedly. In the past, every time she cried and made trouble, Bennett would soften his heart and obey all her demands. But today, facing her crying and pestering, Bennett only felt endless collapse and regret. He looked at the countless mocking and contemptuous eyes from the audience, looked at my cold and heartless expression, and his heart was filled with unprecedented panic and despair. He knew that he had completely messed up everything today, and he was about to lose everything he had. Third-party objective commentary. At this stage of the plot, the gap between Serena and the two betrayers has become completely obvious. Mia is young, shallow, and greedy. All her schemes are petty and superficial, relying on weakness and pretense to seize other people's men and happiness. She is short-sighted and only sees the temporary sweetness of love, completely unaware that she has provoked a powerful opponent she can never afford to offend. Bennett is even more ridiculous and pathetic. He has mediocre ability, narrow vision, and extreme inferiority and greed. He enjoys Serena's top-tier resources, silent dedication, and stable backing, but is not satisfied with a plain and stable life. He covets the youthful freshness of a young intern, indulges in extramarital affairs, and finally takes the initiative to destroy his own perfect life. Faced with the collapse of a situation, he has no ability to resist and remedy, only panic and cowardice lie in contrast. Serena's every move and every word is full of strategic wisdom. She does not rush to get angry or quarrel, but uses the public wedding scene to completely expose the ugly faces of the two betrayers in front of all witnesses, laying the most solid foundation for her subsequent comprehensive revenge. She controls the rhythm of the whole scene perfectly, letting the two betrayers fall into their own dug trap step by step, which is the real top-level crushing. I no longer paid attention to the noisy and embarrassing two people in front of me. I raised my right hand slightly, and my assistant, who had been waiting outside the venue, immediately walked in quickly, holding a professional tablet and a stack of formal printed documents in his hand. The assistant walked straight to my side, handed me the tablet respectfully, and stood quietly behind me. waiting for my instructions. This scene made all the guests present stunned again. They had always thought that I was just an ordinary employee, but my current posture, my dedicated professional assistant, and the powerful aura I exuded all proved that my identity was far from ordinary. Bennett stared at the assistant beside me, his eyes full of incredible shock and confusion. He had been with me for 2 years, and he had never known that I had a personal assistant, nor had he ever seen me contact any high-end professional team. All his cognition of me was completely overturned at this moment. I took the tablet casually, my fingers sliding gently on the screen, and then I raised the tablet high, facing all the guests in the audience, so that everyone could clearly see the dense content on the screen. The screen clearly displayed all the intimate chat records, ambiguous call records, private dating photos, and consumption records of Bennett and Mia in the past 6 months. Every record was clear and detailed, without any omission. There were late-night intimate chats, sweet pet names, dating hotel records, and a large number of transfer records from Bennett to Mia. Every piece of evidence was a heavy blow, completely crushing all their excuses and disguises. Everyone here today is my distinguished guest and witness. My voice was cold and powerful, spreading throughout the entire venue. Today, on my wedding day, I will let everyone witness the true faces of these two immoral people who betrayed their feelings and ruined other people's marriages. As I spoke, I clicked the screen lightly, and the huge LED screen above the wedding stage instantly played all the evidence in full screen. Clear photos, complete chat records, and detailed consumption records were displayed in front of everyone's eyes without any disguise. The entire audience was in an uproar again, and the sound of discussion was endless. All the guests looked at Bennett and Mia with extremely disgusted and contemptuous eyes. The two people who were still hugging and arguing just now completely lost all their faces. Their ugly private lives were completely exposed in public, becoming the biggest joke of the entire upper-class circle today. Mia's face turned pale and bloodless in an instant. She covered her face and cried bitterly, wanting to escape from the stage in embarrassment, but she was so flustered that she couldn't even walk steadily. Bennett's body was trembling constantly, his face was ashen, and he stood stiffly on the stage, completely unable to accept the collapse of the situation. He never thought that I would collect all their evidence so completely, and never thought that I would expose all his scandals in public, without any mercy. Bennett Hopkins. I stared at him coldly, my tone without any warmth or mercy. For 2 years, I have paid silently for you, helped you solve workplace difficulties, used my personal resources to help your company get 3 high-value cooperation projects, and even wronged myself to hide my identity and lower my posture to take care of your poor self-esteem. I listed all my contributions one by one, every word clear and powerful, letting all the guests know how sincere my dedication was and how ruthless his betrayal was. You have always enjoyed all the benefits I brought you, but you have never been grateful. Instead, you have been secretly cheating on your intern assistant, making her pregnant, and finally choosing to stage a farce on my wedding day to humiliate me in public. You think I am weak and easy to bully. You think you can play with my feelings wantonly, and you think you can get both my resources and youthful love without any cost. A cold and sarcastic smile appeared on my lips. But you are wrong. The person you have been underestimating all along is the one who holds all your fate and career in the palm of your hand. I turned my eyes, looked at the stunned company executives and industry leaders sitting in the guest seat, and said in a calm and unhurried tone, all cooperation projects that Voss Group has provided to Bennett Hopkins Company will be officially terminated in full tonight. All resource connections and industry recommendations will be completely cut off, and there will be no further cooperation in the future. As soon as my words fell, all the industry leaders present were instantly shocked. Voss Group, the top legal and financial group in the international industry, a giant enterprise with absolute discourse power in the upper-class circle. It turns out that the ordinary girlfriend Bennett has been showing off to others is actually the founder and controlling shareholder of Voss Group. The ordinary resources he relied on to get promoted and raise his salary are all the top-level resources of the international giant group. Everyone suddenly realized that Bennett's so-called career progress and outstanding achievements in the past 2 years were all based on my hidden dedication and resource output. Without me, he is just a mediocre, ordinary person with no ability and no background. The senior executives of Bennett's company instantly turned pale. They finally understood why their company could successfully win several impossible high-value projects in the past 2 years. It was all because of my secret help. Now that I officially announced the termination of all cooperation, their company will immediately lose all core high-value businesses and will even face huge liquidated damages and industry sanctions. The company's future development will fall into a complete dead end in an instant. In addition, I continued to speak coldly, my every sentence carrying fatal crushing power. As the top legal consulting institution in the industry, Voss Group will officially issue a full industry blacklist announcement tonight. Bennett Hopkins and Mia Carter will be permanently included in the industry blacklist, banned from engaging in any financial, legal, and workplace management-related industries for life. All cooperative enterprises of Voss Group are prohibited from hiring or cooperating with the two in any form. This is the most fatal blow for Bennett and Mia. Bennett has been working hard in the financial industry for many years, and his whole life's career and future are tied to this industry. Being permanently blacklisted means that his career is completely ruined, and he will never have any chance to turn over in this industry for the rest of his life. Mia is an intern who has just entered the workplace, and her future career has not yet started. Being permanently banned from the industry means that her workplace future is completely cut off, and she can never step into the mainstream high-end industry in her life. Bennett's whole body collapsed in an instant. His legs went weak, and he almost knelt down on the gorgeous wedding stage. His eyes were full of endless regret, panic, and despair. He finally knew how powerful the woman he had betrayed and underestimated was. The gentle and ordinary wife he had always looked down on was actually a top-tier billionaire elite who could easily control his life and death. All his pride, inferiority, scheming, and betrayal were extremely ridiculous and pathetic in front of my absolute strength. Serena, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Bennett rushed towards me regardless of his dignity, tears and snot streaming down his face, completely losing all the demeanor of a gentleman. He grabbed the hem of my wedding dress tightly, kneeling on one knee in front of me, begging bitterly with a hoarse voice. "Forgive me, I was confused for a moment. It's all Mia's fault. She seduced me. I never meant to betray you. I love you the most. Give me a chance to correct my mistakes. Don't ruin my career. Don't blacklist me. I beg you." His voice was hoarse and desperate, his expression extremely humble and miserable, completely falling into the standard chasing wife crematorium scene. The man who was arrogant and insidious in secret just now is now humble and begging for mercy, completely devoid of any backbone and dignity. Mia also completely panicked. She covered her stomach, staggered forward 2 steps, her face full of fear and grievance, and cried loudly, "Sister Serena, I was wrong too. I shouldn't have loved Bennett secretly. I shouldn't have come to the wedding to make trouble. Please forgive us. I still have a child in my belly. You can't ruin our future. Please be merciful." Faced with their humble and desperate begging, I had no trace of sympathy or mercy in my heart. All the tenderness and kindness had been completely exhausted by their betrayal and insult today. I looked down at the kneeling Bennett, my eyes cold and heartless, without any fluctuation. Mercy? I sneered coldly. When you lied to me repeatedly, when you secretly dated her, when you indulged her to humiliate me in public on my wedding day, when you trampled my sincerity and dignity underfoot, did you ever show me a trace of mercy? You enjoy my dedication and resources, but betray me wantonly. You take my tolerance as weakness and my sincerity as foolishness. Now that you have suffered the consequences, you come to beg for mercy. It's too late. Third-party objective commentary. The high-energy climax of the whole story officially arrives at this moment. Serena's revenge is never trivial quarrels and emotional venting, but precise, fatal, and dimensionality-reducing crushing targeting all the core interests of the 2 betrayers. She completely exposes the scandal in public, ruins their social reputation, terminates all cooperative resources to cut off their economic sources, and permanently blacklists them to completely ruin their career futures. Every revenge move hits the key point directly, leaving no room for the 2 to turn over. What is most valuable is that Serena has always maintained absolute rationality and calmness throughout the process. She does not lose her demeanor because of anger, nor does she soften her heart because of the other party's begging. She treats betrayal with the most decisive and ruthless attitude, which is the most handsome attitude of a modern, independent, strong woman. The so-called chasing wife crematorium of the male protagonist is completely self-inflicted. All his despair and regret are the inevitable consequences of his own greed and betrayal, and there is no slightest sympathy worthy of being forgiven. I waved my hand lightly, and the bodyguards arranged outside the venue immediately stepped onto the stage, neatly and forcefully separating the kneeling Bennett and the crying Mia. They dragged the 2 people who were still begging for mercy out of the luxurious wedding venue in full view of everyone. The noisy and absurd farce on the wedding stage finally ended, but the shock left in the hearts of all the guests was endless. All the guests stood up one after another, looking at me with admiration in their eyes, and no one dared to underestimate me anymore. Everyone finally knew that the gentle and quiet bride in front of them was a real top-tier strong woman, powerful, calm, decisive, and ruthless. I took off the wedding veil on my head slowly and neatly, my movements elegant and calm, without any reluctance or sadness. This wedding was originally a farce arranged by betrayal, and this marriage was originally a wrong relationship that was not worth cherishing. Since the other party chose to betray first, I will completely cut off all ties without hesitation. Today's wedding is officially canceled. My voice was clear and firm, spreading throughout the venue. From this moment on, Bennett Hopkins and I have no longer any emotional or legal relationship. All his subsequent reputation, career, and economic losses are all caused by himself, and have nothing to do with me. I paused, glanced at the tidy and romantic wedding scene around me, and continued in a calm tone. I once cherished this relationship sincerely, but I never regret letting go. A relationship full of betrayal and lies is not worthy of my sincerity and dedication. From today on, I will take back all my hidden aura, return to my own peak life, and move towards a better future alone. After speaking, I turned around neatly, dragging the long wedding gown, and walked towards the exit of the wedding venue step by step. My back is straight and tall, elegant and calm, without any hesitation or sadness. The crystal chandeliers cast bright light on my back, making my figure look more noble and powerful. Behind me were the shocked and admiring guests, the completely collapsed wedding scene, and the 2 betrayers who fell into the abyss of despair and can never turn over. I did not look back for a single second. There's no need to miss the wrong people and broken relationships. For me, the end of this failed marriage is not a loss, but a thorough liberation. I no longer need to hide my aura for anyone, no longer need to wrong myself to accommodate others, no longer need to tolerate betrayal and lies. From today on, I am still the top elite lawyer and billionaire female president standing at the peak of the industry. Did I have wealth, status, ability, and a bright future? I can rely on myself to live a brilliant and wanton life. Outside the wedding venue, the sun was bright and warm, falling gently on my body, sweeping away all the gloom and embarrassment of the farce just now. The breeze brushed my hair gently, bringing a fresh and comfortable feeling. I raised my head slightly, looked at the clear blue sky in the distance, and a real relaxed and bright smile finally appeared on my face. My heart was completely calm and transparent, without any grievance, anger, or regret. All the trivial entanglements and sad pasts were completely ended with today's thorough revenge and clean severance. The so-called love and marriage that once trapped me were just a small episode in my brilliant life. Now the episode is over, and my real wonderful life is just beginning. Third-party objective commentary. The final ending of the story presents the most correct outlook on life for modern independent women. Serena does not sink into the pain of betrayal, does not waste her time and energy on regretting and resenting the traitor, but chooses to cut off decisively, revenge thoroughly, and move forward bravely. She lets the audience understand a truth. The happiness of a woman never needs to rely on marriage and men. Your own strength, wealth, and ability are the most solid backing in life. Bennett's chasing wife crematorium is a lifelong irreparable regret. He lost a sincere, powerful, and dedicated top-tier partner because of his momentary greed and stupidity, and finally fell into the abyss of career failure and social death, which is the most just retribution. Serena's Nirvana rebirth and brilliant new life are the most handsome counterattacks of all. In the days that followed, the whole city's upper-class circles were talking about this shocking wedding farce. Everyone knew Bennett Hopkins' shameless betrayal and Mia Carter's vicious mistress behavior. Their reputations were completely ruined, and they became the biggest laughingstock of the upper-class circle forever. Bennett's company completely collapsed within a month due to the loss of all core projects and huge liquidated damages. He was permanently blacklisted by the industry, unable to find any decent job, and could only do the most menial physical labor to make a living every day. He was burdened with huge debts, living in poverty and embarrassment every day, and fell into endless regret and self-blame. He tried countless times to contact me, to apologize and beg for forgiveness, and even squatted downstairs in my company every day, hoping to get a chance to meet me, but I never gave him any response or chance. The man who once made me suffer public humiliation and emotional betrayal can only spend his whole life in endless chasing and regret, enduring the painful chasing wife crematorium that he brought upon himself. Mia gave birth to a child smoothly, but because of her ruined reputation and blocked career, she had no stable source of income. She could only live a poor and down-and-out life with her child. She originally wanted to rely on the child to seize a wealthy life, but in the end, she could only fall into the quagmire of poverty with Bennett, suffering and struggling all her life. On the contrary, I completely returned to my peak career state, released all my suppressed aura, took over more international high-value projects, expanded the group's business territory, and my career and wealth reached new peak heights. I attended various international industry summits, stood on the top stage spotlight, and lived a wanton, free, and brilliant life. I have completely walked out of the shadow of failed marriage and betrayal and gained a more independent, powerful, and perfect self. I finally understand that the best love and marriage is never relying on others' favor, but relying on my own strength to be invincible and live every day of my life splendidly and freely.